We see that John starts off very nurturing by telling his submissive Elizabeth that he bought her a gift. In reality, this is a subtle introduction to his desired ritual. By setting it on the table directly after, he's giving her an unspoken directive to come and get the gift, which she picks up on but slightly resists. Now, if you haven't built a full fence line in negotiation, as we discussed, and you don't understand how different arousal types impact the submissive experience, resistance like this can shut you down as a dominant for a number of reasons, from rejection sensitivity to a fear of crossing an unwanted line. But what did our erotically intelligent dominant do here? He asserted his authority in a coaxing and slightly flirtatious way by telling her that he likes to watch her move. This flattered and disarmed her, even inviting a coy little giggle, which is always a good sign. Did he get nervous, jittery, or concerned when she was still contemplating her obedience? No. He's steady and stable, with a calm, knowing smile, patiently waiting for her to obey. And she does. What does he do next? Shifts his tone to slightly more commanding, not to correct, but as continued guidance. Only when she finally obeys does his use of body language change. He reduces the distance between them in calm, measured steps, both as additional guidance and to incorporate touch as a point of praise and reinforcement. But notice how and when he touched her. Gently stroking her shoulder was all he did, but it was a powerfully possessive move done in a non threatening way. And only after he stood near her, hovering, to convey the power gap between them and create an energetic hierarchy which Elizabeth subconsciously responded to. Now, notice John as he observes Elizabeth opening the present. He sits slowly, leans his entire body into her, and doesn't fidget or talk much. Then his tone shifts into subtle flirtation as he introduces his intention for the ritual, linking the concept of being hypnotized and all consumed to this watch. But notice how he allows a moment of levity and playfulness as Elizabeth listens to the ticking before transitioning into a coaxing, commanding tone as he begins to set his expectations. These are all mindful strategies to put her at ease and invite her into a playful, disarmed space before he sets the expectation and initiates the ritual. Now, we really want to pay attention to his body language here because he does a few things so brilliantly. First, he shows gentle affection as she admires the watch as a silent act of encouragement and connection. Then there's a slow, calculated rise and a saunter to the opposing wall. Why? Distancing himself from her allows her a subconscious sense of autonomy, communicating non-verbally that he is not going to push, but invite, naturally sparking her curiosity. It's only once he sees her hooked with that curiosity that he introduces the ritual. But even before doing so, his body language makes another statement of safety and reassurance by staying relaxed and sliding down the wall. This not only frames Elizabeth as the higher seat in the room, further contributing to her sense of autonomy and ease, but it also demonstrates how unbothered John is. Erotically intelligent dominants are secure enough to be settled in the waiting, in the silence, in the uncertainty, before they get the answer they want, or even in the midst of hesitation, questions, or pushback. Because it's that security that the submissive will feel on an emotional and energetic level and magnetize them to you. Now, when John finally speaks his directive, he begins with a softly commanding tone, addressing her by name to grab her attention, and then continues to communicate exactly what he expects in a very matter-of-fact way. But notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say, "I want you to look at this watch every day and think of me touching you." He asks her, "Each day at 12 o'clock, Would you look at that watch and think of me touching you? That's the beauty in leaning into the erotic juxtaposition between the words you speak and how you're speaking them. A potent impact that leads to effortless obedience if done right. But John is rightfully sensing some latent hesitation. And this is not the time to step back, apologize, get in your head, or renegotiate dominance. This is the time for inducement and reassurance. And that's exactly what John does here. He widens the power gap by noticing both what Elizabeth said and what she didn't say. He notices the incongruency between her words and her tone and energy. And he stays steady in his expectation instead of getting insecure about it, giving her time to process his directive one last time, to which she agrees. This is just a small piece of my full masterclass, Maximizing Submissive Training with Erotic Intelligence, where I break down how to introduce daily rules and rituals in a way that actually builds erotic tension and reinforces authority in your Dom-Sub dynamic. The full 30-minute training and my entire archive is on Patreon. Link in the description.